This is Foodscaping, Utah. It's a beautiful day in April, mid-April, and today we're gonna graft some fruit trees. So this is a flowering pear, and we have it here in our park strip. And we thought it would be really cool to graft some fruiting pear variety onto some of the branches. So if you're gonna graft fruit trees, the first thing that you need is Scion wood. So about 8 weeks ago, we took some Scion wood from our favorite pear variety. It's a variety called Harrow Delight. It's a great variety to grow because it's got some disease resistance and it's got a great flavor. So we really like it. So like I said, it's mid-April now. These cuttings we actually got at the end of February. So if you want to know more on how to get Scion cuttings, what I'll do is put a link in the description to a video by USU Extension that shows how to get Scion wood. So like I said, step one is getting some wood to graft, some Scion wood, and you can either cut those yourself. So if you know somebody that has a pear tree, or you have your own, or this is commonly done with apples too. It's really easy with apples or pears. You can get wood that way when it's dormant. You want to make sure it's completely dormant. That's why we did it in February, and we had it in the refrigerator since then. So when I take cuttings, I like to take a variety of different sizes. So you don't know exactly what wood you're going to cut onto. So there, at least some of them are thicker than others, and that depends on where we're going to put it. So to get your Scion wood, the first way to do it obviously would be get your own cuttings. The other way to do it would be to order online. A nursery like Rain Tree Nursery has some Scion wood. They do have a lot of apple and pear, particularly apple, but there's a couple places online that you could get some. So step one's getting your Scion wood. Step two is picking something to graft on. And we're going to use a flowering pear. So fruiting pears can go to flowering pears or other pears. Apples can be grafted onto crabapple as well, or apple varieties. So what we're going to do is, we did one about 2 weeks ago, and it's right here. So we got the graft all done here, and today we'll show you how we do another branch. We want to do 2 branches just to have some insurance. I mean, if both of them grow, that'll be great. But if only one does, at least we've got a backup too. So we picked this branch, and the one that we already showed you. And with this branch, it's on the opposite side of the other one, and they're both low branches. You'll notice we'd rather have the fruit low than up high. So step one's a Scion wood. The other thing you need is something to graft with. And you can do grafting with just a sharp knife or a knife that's particularly for grafting. But the easiest way to do it is to use a grafting tool. And this works really well with apple and pear. So this is a grafting tool. They're about $20. You can get them on Amazon. It's kind of neat because it's like basically like a hole puncher. You just squeeze it onto the branch and it creates a shape in it. It's like an omega shape. And basically what you end up doing is joining together 2 pieces of a puzzle. So you take your Scion wood, you make a cut one way and then a cut on the branch the other way, and you fit them together. So we're going to show you how to do that now. Okay, so we're going to use this Scion wood. We picked the one that matched the branches the best. We had also put this twisty tie on here when we picked which one. So what we're going to do is make a cut right here and a cut right at a node, or in between 2 nodes on here too. So you want to make this in between 2 nodes, and that's where the buds come out, or there's also flowers. So if you've never used a grafting tool before, you might want to take some cuttings or some sticks or anything and practice a couple times. But the basic idea is you just squeeze it. You try to line it up right in between the 2 buds. Get it right in the middle. Squeeze it and then pull it off. Makes that shape. And that actually looks really good. It's right in the middle. We're going to take a little water too and make sure that there's plenty of moisture in there. then we'll do the same thing facing the other way on our Scion wood, if we can find it. Okay, here it is. So, let's see. I'm gonna do it. So let's do it here. Actually, yeah, we're gonna do it right there. Now we're gonna make the same sort of cut right here. And we want to try to line it up right in the middle between two buds. Okay. Okay. And then you want to make sure you got the buds facing up. If you put it on the wrong way, that it won't work. We're going to dip it in some water. Going to try to fit it in there like a puzzle piece. And sometimes they could go two different ways. Well, that fits pretty good on my side. Look okay over there? Yeah, it looks pretty good. So there you go. Now, next step is to put some band on it, some wrap. And this is a product that's basically like saran wrap, that it's just a thinner piece. They make better grafting bands than this, but this stuff works too. It's just not as easy to work with. But you want something that's a little bit stretchy to get some tension on there to hold your graft together. So we're going to try to make sure what we're shooting for is that the cambium layer is lining up. So the cambium layer, if you want to take a look at that, is the green part on the edges right in there. And to get a effective graft union, you need the living tissue, the cambium layer on both sides to line up. And if your pieces aren't exactly right, sometimes it's not the end of the world. As long as one side is lined up, then you should have a successful graft union. So this is looking pretty good. I think we got both sides lined up pretty well. So we're going to try to wrap this pretty tight. Some tension on there. That's probably way more than we need. I'm gonna cut this off here. And this saran wrap type wrap does have a tendency to unravel a little, like you can see us doing there. So I like to just put a little piece of electrical tape on there to make sure it stays tight. You wouldn't necessarily have to do that. So, just get that tight. You want to make sure your union, your puzzle pieces are still in there really good. Tighten that up. And the thing with the electrical tape is we're going to want to take that off pretty soon to make sure it doesn't girdle the branch once it starts growing, assuming this is a successful graft union. So if you notice here, we have 1, 2, 3 buds. We really only want 2. We only need 2. I mean, it could be successful with 1, but we'll do 2. And what we're going to do is prune it back, make a fresh cut right above this bud. And the reason we want to do a fresh cut is you can see the end of this piece, the Scion wood, is all dried out. So this is still moist in there, and you can see some of the green tissue on there. So we can tell that's still living. And then we'll put some water on there. Okay, make sure that's nice and wet. And then the last step is to put some sort of seal on there. And we happen to have some beeswax from our beehive, our honeybees. So we can use that. If you don't have access to beeswax, you could use Elmer's glue, or there's also grafting wax that can be used. So the reason we put this on is to make sure that that Scion wood doesn't dry out before the union has a chance to heal. So on this tree, we ended up doing 2 grafts, right? And that one we did about 2 weeks before this one. And the nice thing about doing it now is the weather has warmed up. Like I said, it's a beautiful day in April. It's about 70 degrees today, and the weather looks good for the next few weeks. So that'll give this a chance to heal really well. And then in a couple weeks, we'll see if it looks like it's healing, and then we'll come back and take some video of the buds pushing out. So it's mid-August now, and we're really happy to see that one of our graft unions worked. It's a good thing we did 2, because one worked and one didn't. But here you can see the fruiting wood. This is the fruiting pear. It's got the lighter colored leaves, and this is the flowering pear. So this whole branch here has grown since the spring. Now, like I said, it's mid-August. So you can, if you come in close, you can take a look at the graft union there. And you can see where we made that cut and joined it right there. Those are the 2 puzzle pieces and the 2 different colors of wood. So this is the fruiting wood that'll grow our tasty pears, and then that's the flowering pear. So a couple things that I did since then is I pruned out a lot of the pear, the flowering pear in the background, to make sure that this branch gets plenty of sunlight. And then also you can see I put a bamboo stake in here to make it grow a little bit more horizontal. Pears tend to go straight up, and the more horizontal it'll grow, the more it'll fruit. Horizontal wood tends to fruit more than vertical wood. So for the other one that didn't take, our theory is that it dried out. One day when I came out here to check on it, the beeswax had fallen off, and I think maybe it dried out, but it could have been a number of things. So it's a good idea to check on them, or maybe the beeswax wasn't on there very good. But either way, it's great that we did 2 and we got one of them to work. So this is what's called top work, where you're grafting to an existing tree, creating a new branch. But this same technique is super useful for propagating new trees too. In that case, what you need is the Scion wood and a rootstock, and then you can graft this Scion like we did here right to a really small rootstock that's been grown. So to take get an idea on that, on how to do that and what you can do, this Belgian fence of apples, I grafted all of these apple trees 2.5 years ago with baby rootstocks and little Scion wood. So it's a quick and inexpensive way to get a lot of trees. But one disadvantage of starting trees that way is they're typically at least a year, usually 2 years behind where they would be in a nursery tree. But you can see these were grafted. If you look at this one really quick, here's where the graft union was 2.5 years ago, and you can see how the color of the wood's a little bit different. This is the rootstock, and this is the fruiting wood, and this is the apple that we wanted to grow here. So if you're curious about this Belgian fence and you want to know more about that, check out our video on Belgian fence apple trees. And then also, if you want to see more on how to graft, and particularly to a rootstock, USU Extension has a video on that I'll put a link into the description. So hopefully you got a good idea on how to graft fruit trees, and you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching Foodscaping Utah, and grow your own.